Heyo. Well, hello. How's it going?
How's everybody doing out there?
Everybody
Ready for
file
this
in,
one?
grab your seats, because we've got a good one today. We are going to talk about technology planning, which is so important in your company. If you're just going willy-nilly, like you got no plan, good luck. But let's go over what this webinar is about today. Today's webinar, we are going to look at essentially what I'm saying, effective technology planning, because technology planning is key. We're going to go into things like knowing your business goals, looking at what you've got, budgeting. But I'll get there. Let me do some. Oh, you know what? The only thing I do want to know from you guys is I'm going to want to hear what you guys have to say on this one, because everybody does this sort of planning a little differently. So I'm looking forward to hearing your insights, folks out there. And on that note, let me get to some housekeeping. You guys can come on the show. Sick! And the way you do that is Alex, who is in the background here running the show, she is going to post in the comments a link. And if you click on that link, you can come on the show. One key thing, when you do click on that link, what do we say? I always forget this. Just mute the LinkedIn?
Mute LinkedIn or turn it off to avoid any echo, right?
Yeah, I don't really want you to turn it off, because then when you're not on, like when you get off, you're like lost. But yeah, just mute your LinkedIn, because otherwise there'll be all kinds of echo. There's a delay, is the whole thing. It gets crazy.
Right.
And there is the link.
Yeah, there it is. So
okay.
Feel free to jump on. And there's actually some benefits to jumping on, right?
Yes, go. Let me hear it, Jeff. What do we got today?
New. Yeah, we want to see you participate. We're giving away an AirPods Pro 2, or for you Android users out there, an equivalent Bose in-ear headphones. So just stay on. All we ask is that you stay on for the webinar and participate at the end to be included. Alex is going to do a drawing through some cool thing we found online, and it'll be randomly selected. So please ask questions and participate. What else we got, Norman?
Let's see. What else we got? I think we're ready to go. What do you think?
I think so.
Okay. So let's get right into it. You want to do some technology planning. You know what we didn't discuss when we were working up to this? Why do you need to do technology planning?
That's a good one. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Why do you need to do technology planning?
Well, to me, it's like all planning. You got to know where you're going. Otherwise, you're just flying by the seat of your pants, and you may be going in the wrong direction entirely.
Correct. Well, right? Like one thing we learned as we've evolved our business, we've been in business for 24 years. Oh, we didn't even say a little bit about us. So,
yeah, true.
Yeah, let's do the RCS thing. So we're RCS Professional Services. We're an IT managed service provider in New York City and Atlanta, Georgia. We service businesses across the country, helping them with their IT. Planning is a big part of what we help them with, and getting strategic. So I'm Jeffrey Tebele, the founder of the company. We started with Norman, like I said, in 1999, and Norman is the brains behind the operation. Why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, let's see. Yes, I've been with Jeff for a ton of time, and what we get to do, especially Chloe's team gets to do, is meet with all the clients and do this sort of technology planning. Should have had her on this webinar. I don't know why I screwed that one up. Anyway,
All good.
but this is a lot of what the account management slash VCIO team does. They go out and they meet with all their clients. They figure out things like, oh, what are your plans? How are we going to make How are we going to make those plans a reality through the use of technology, if technology is needed? So that's one part of what we do.
Yes, so let's do it. Let's do it. And we engage with a business coach that helps us get strategic, right? The key is you want to get strategic, right? You don't want to wait for things to break. That's just plain old reactive. But more importantly, aligning tech with your business goals, because it could certainly help it make it go a long way, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You can. There's obviously multiple ways to skin a cat, but in business, you kind of want to be doing it the most efficient way.
For sure, for sure, for sure. So where should we start?
Well, for us, when we're doing planning, technology planning, it always starts with business goals. What are you guys trying to do in your business? And for us, RCS, when we do planning also, it's a combination of taking a look at what we've got, what's going right, what's going wrong, then figuring out what our goals are, and then working it all back to making it happen. So which one do you want to start with? Business goals or the sort of inventory budgeting part of this?
I think business goals, right? We want to be as strategic as possible, right? If anyone
Okay.
else wants to hear something first, then chime right away. But I say business goals.
Okay, good, good. So,
So go ahead.
all right. So, yeah, first thing, let's you take a step back, take a look at your business. What are the business goals? Okay, let's go from there. Once you've got, and as far as like Jeff was talking about, a business planning coach, it's been so helpful to us to
Huge.
work with ours. Can't say enough good about this concept of a business business coach.
Yeah, it's definitely helped us grow, year over year, look at things proactively, develop a plan, and making sure you're held accountable to your strategy. Everything from our core values, our mission statement, our 3-year plan, our 1-year plan, our quarterly plan, right? Everything we talk about it a couple times a month. Not a huge time investment, but a great return. We have some great, referral partners. If you want to, meet any of them, Steve Furman is one, Doug Diamond is another. So definitely reach out to Morgan Swank, our biz dev person, and she could connect you with them. But yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Business
Okay,
plan.
so you go through your business planning, you figure out what your goals are. What's the next step? We're talking about business goals. You figure out what the business goals are. What are the next steps?
Yes, so business goals, right? What do we want to do? Obviously, we want to grow, right? That's one of our main overarching goals. But then it's like, how are you going to do it, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to hire salespeople. You're going to ramp up your marketing. You're going to do mergers and acquisitions. You're going to come out with a new product. You're going to add new products to your existing portfolio to sell to your existing base. Do you want to find new markets? Do you want to open up new geographies, right? There's so many ways to grow, and it's just, you have to narrow in on those strategies, right? You can only pick one or two. You can't really do more than a couple things at a time. So you have to pick your strategy. One of the ways that we do that is we get in our powwow rooms a few times a month, like I said, and we look at our one great way of doing it is the SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Help you get some juices flowing on ideas, on ways that you can improve, right? Again, this is out of our wheelhouse. This is more with business coaches, but a plan ultimately develops, right, as those conversations are happening. Would you agree, Norman?
Okay. Yes. Okay. So exactly. So you got your plan. Now what? Do you just dive in and start buying technology?
No, no, no. So, so let's say, like in our example, right? We made a decision to make an investment into sales and marketing, which requires, right, human capital, so people, and then the people have to be successful, so it requires tools that we would need to invest in. For one thing, in addition to the people, all the technology that we use. So we signed up for, let's say, HubSpot, right? We're paying a couple $1,000s a month for that, software as a service. Basically does our marketing automation, all of our CRM. So it helps the salesperson succeed by, making sure they're following up on deals, opportunities, all sorts of automation so that they can stay in touch with the client in the most efficient way possible, right? So you want to, these investments that you make, you can't just invest in sales and marketing, let's say, to grow without giving them the tools that they need to succeed. So in addition to the people, you have to kind of like get in there and say, like, what does success look like? How do we ensure that we can be successful? And obviously technology wraps around everything from software and all sorts of various different infrastructure, right? So once we have those plans defined that, we said we're going to invest in sales and marketing. So it starts, yeah, with people, but then everything that wraps around it, right? So that business goal, that initiative of growth, whatever it is, 10% growth, 20% top line growth, whatever it is we're thinking, right? We decided that investing in sales and marketing was going to be one way to do that, right? There's many ways to do it, right? You could look at various companies introducing new products, merger and acquisition, new geographies, new territories, right? But that's one that we use. Does, you know, anything else to share on that? Like we have a client that, is going on an acquisition spree. We could talk about that and how technology would impact it. Did I miss anything with the sales and marketing investment
No,
around
okay. So you said that we had a goal. Our goal was to increase sales and marketing, and we took a look at what we had, and we realized we didn't have certain things that we needed to do this, to keep track of this. One of the things we realized we didn't have is we didn't have a good CRM, and we weren't able to keep track of actually what was going on in our marketing and sales cycles. So that's why we started looking around for technology. We're like, okay, great, we've got something. Let's take a look at HubSpot. We're going to use that. We brought that into the fold and started using that, leveraging the technology of HubSpot to make our dreams come true. But
let's talk about, go ahead.
But what about, okay, so that's the idea of great, I want to do it. Now I'm diving in on a new piece of technology. But what about all the technology that I've got? I've got all kinds of things. I mean, I can't just go spending money on whatever just because I don't even know where I'm at. What about that side of things? What about the assessment of what you've got and budgeting around that?
Yes, for sure. So we run our clients through an assessment annually, right? So that's taking stock of everything that you have, your inventory, physical inventory, your cloud subscriptions, your recurring subscriptions, whatever it is, copiers, internet lines, right? You want to look at your on-premise applications. Yes, those are still out there, folks. So you could have legacy applications, SQL applications, right? And you have all this stuff, and if it's ignored, it becomes kind of like that junk drawer in the house where like you open it up and there's pens and napkins and tissues, and it's just a complete mess, right? So how do we prevent it from being that junk drawer? What do you say, Norman? How do you do it? You run through it with the clients all the time.
Yeah, so we've basically got an assessment of all kinds of best practices that we've gleaned over the years from running technology and helping businesses out. And they go through all kinds of things like, let's take a look at a workstation report. How old are those machines? Are there machines that are going to need to be updated this year? Are you going to need new machines? What's going on with internet? Is there any risk as far as your internet lines go? How about your switches? Are those things going to die this year? Are they getting old? Or is there something here that is either a problem or is going to lead to expense, and I need to figure that into my whole technology plan? So, well, let's take a look at another example. Because yes, you mentioned another client, a client that's going through
acquisition spree, right?
acquisitions.
Right. So this is back to like the planning process, right? Like we have a client that's growing through acquisition. And acquisitions, once you get good at them, they get easier. But when you're first starting, you may find out that, you're not primed for acquisition spree, right? One thing that we learn as a solutions provider and, supporting all IT departments is, for example, just one example, right? On an acquisition strategy is standardization, right? So why is standardization important? I mean, Norman, you do this with the clients all the time. You tell me. I know why it's important in our organization, and for us, it's multiplied by 100x for 100 clients or whatever we have. But not only do we have to be standardized, we have to try and make sure our clients are all standardized so that we could provide them with the best level of service at the most efficient price, right? So why does standardization impact the bottom line, Norman?
It's funny. The standardization speaks right back to time. If you don't have a standard way of doing something or a standard in your technology stack, you're just adding time to whatever comes up. If I don't have a standard way of doing something, then every time I do it, I've got to come up with all the steps again. If I don't have the same firewalls across all of my locations, great. Now I have to think about different firewalls and different locations and different technologies. And every time I've got to deal with something, I've got to deal with multiple different things instead of, for example, Meraki having it all in one dashboard where I can take care of everything all in one shot.
Right.
Much
So
better.
so so you're saying like don't just go on Amazon and buy the computer
Oh,
for the
God,
lowest
no.
price and
God,
have a
no.
different one on every desk?
Oh, my God. The
Okay.
whole buy it just because it's the cheapest. You're just asking for money outlays later.
Right. It
Just
doesn't mean it
asking
can't
for it.
be. It doesn't mean it can't be a reasonable, good value computer, right? But we want to see the same thing at every desk. It could be a laptop or a desktop, but at least in those laptops or desktops, right? Down to a couple of models. Same thing like Norman said with the network, down to like, one brand, be it Cisco, Meraki, or Juniper, or whatever it is used, fine, right? But the shop needs to have one brand because the IT folks that support it, like Norman was just saying, it's much more of a learning curve if you have several platforms, right? If you're minimizing the number of products and platforms, then your IT staff, the help desk, the project engineers, whatever it is, they will be able to deploy things much faster, support things much faster. So this sounds like a whole nother webinar in itself,
Yeah.
standardization.
Yeah.
But long story short, what I'm getting at is like if they want to be prime for acquisition, so now they're getting serious about standardizing internally, right? Because as you latch on a company, you want to get them on your standards. Otherwise, it gets more complicated as you acquire more companies and you have all different platforms. And now all of a sudden, instead of having one IT person, you now have four. You're spending another couple $100,000 a year on payroll that you don't have to, right? So again, standardization is a whole nother conversation, but the goal of getting standardized is now on the business plan. What's the financial ramifications of that? And how do we even come up with the numbers? Like we talk about technology planning. Are we now getting into budgeting? Like let's talk about that process or not just yet?
Yeah. Sure. Well, let's get there. So yeah, their business goal is to grow by acquiring companies. So they have to get their house in order, which is what Jeff is talking about. Get your house in order because once you bring on that first company, you are going to suddenly discover, holy cow, there's a lot to deal with. So their goal was acquisition. Took a look at their technology. What do we have to do as far as technology to get us to that goal of acquisition? And when that goal of acquisition happens, how well is it going to pan out?
Right. So getting serious with standardization was the goal. And then, financially, what does that look like? And then now, as they latch on a company, they make that company adhere to their standards. So in the integration phase, oh, just because they're a SonicWall shop and not Meraki, no, we're Meraki, everything's Meraki. We're, Lenovo, every desktop's Lenovo. We're Mac, whatever it is, right? One same thing everywhere. And now you could support a much larger environment with less human capital, right? It's the same tool sets, it's the same people, just less of it, as opposed to if everything's all over the place, now all of a sudden you're multiplying your payroll.
Right. So that you brought up budgeting. So that brings up that whole thing that they would it would benefit them to do, brings up the idea of budgeting, the idea of every company taking a look at what they've got, what's going to happen in the next 1, 3, 5 years as far as technology goes, and planning for that. I mean, you don't want to be thinking, okay, great, I'm going to spend all kinds of money on technology, and then realize that there was this server that was at end of life halfway through that year, and now you suddenly have no money to deal with that server. So
Right.
you want to be able to do this inventory. This inventory is it's everything. It's everything you've got going on. It's your computers, it's your switches, it's your hardware, it's your firewalls. It's things like, how much am I paying for HubSpot a month? How much am I paying my Microsoft license, my Google licenses? Do I have an on-prem application? Is there some company there that supports that they have an annual fee? Do you have internet lines? Do you have copiers? All these things that will generate some expense. Those should all be in there. In fact, when Chloe does budgets at the end of the year for our clients, it's all there. She'll like reach out to the client and say, hey, do you have this? Do you have this bill? Do you have this bill? Put it all on a spreadsheet of the next year so our clients know what expenses are coming up based on what they've got now. Not only that, but because she has been taking a look at their technology and she wants to, she's got projects for them to do to improve, based on, again, technology planning, what they want to do. Those projects will also figure into the budget she puts together. So
Right.
it'll be, okay, here's that project fee in that budget. It's in month 4. Here's the subscription prices, the subscription outlays
Right.
for that once you've got that in place.
So now we're starting to talk about, right? So you have a needs assessment, right, which is based on business planning and an internal assessment, right? So Norman's just talking annually. Every company should be going through their inventory, take stock of what they have, and then you start getting these optimization ideas, right? Some things could be legacy, ready to be retired, or replaced with something better, right? Maybe in your inventory stock, you find that you have a file server. That's a good conversation. Should we move it to Google? Should we move it to Dropbox? Should we move it to Office 365, right? And you're actually creating a tactical plan. And it's not only a tactical plan for the near term, but for the long term, right? You want to have a roadmap because spending all these monies on these hopes and dreams, right? It could get pretty expensive, right? There's a lot of capex that goes into it. There's one-time fees for setting up and migrating. So, you want to prioritize what's most important and do those things first, and then the things that are year 2, year 3 out there, right? You want to pipeline them in, and then have strategic conversations with CFO, COO, CEO, whatever it is, so that you could get that budget in place, right? So right now we're in February 2024. We're hopefully doing everything that we decided to do at the end of 2023, third or fourth quarter. So we're going to see those things happen this year. We'll go through these exercises, right? Business planning that happens anyway. We're doing that every quarter, every week. It's a living, breathing document. And then you're doing your assessment, right? Closer to the end of the year. When are we doing those? Like Q3, I would say?
Yeah, it's Q3, Q4, depending on the company.
And then your plan should be ready to go, by, I would say December 1st, the latest, right?
Yeah, yes, you want to get that. You don't want to be still planning on January 1st.
You wanna have everything ready to go. So January starts, the money's there. You could start green light, going forward with those projects that have been green lighted in the fourth quarter of 2023.
But there's one thing we missed. Okay, so far everything we've talked about happens kind of inside this bubble in the boardroom. But there's something key here that we've missed. There's a couple of key things that we've missed. Huh?
Talk to your employees.
Yes. Talk to your employees. Figure out what's working, what's not working. They're the ones on the ground. They know what's working and not working. Talk to them because they will be able to tell you, and they will be quite vocal about it when you ask.
One thing that's great that our business coach does give us, which is free to anyone out there that wants it, is he does a biannual employee survey that asks many questions. I think it's 20 minutes or something like that, and gives us great, valuable data. A lot of the changes that we've made for the better in that company have come from those sorts of things. So that's just one tool you could use if you want. You could reach out to Norman or myself, and we'll direct you to Doug. I think the next survey is coming out in a month or two, and I think he has several hundred companies that participate. It's all anonymous, and it's a great tool. That's one way, but for sure, talk to your people. Your department head should talk to your people, see where pain points are, see where there's frustrations, if there's frustrations, or even just ask, how can they do their job better? What do they need?
Yeah, there's an opportunity for optimization there, and optimizing something that's already going, you get so much out of that. You really do. You get so much out of that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we touched on most of it, right?
Wait, what
I
about?
mean,
Okay, so you're talking to your people, yes, and you're going to hear all kinds of wishes and dreams and stuff like, oh my God, and some of it may be crazy, but it will help you identify choke points and pain points that are going on in the business. And in fact, not only identify choke points and pain points now, but when you're doing the planning, you're thinking about what's going to go on in my company, think about things like choke point and pain points with the change we're going to make. So what do I need to think about with the changes I'm going to make? Choke points, pain points, security. Am I just randomly open? We'll get back to security in a second because I can go on and on about security. But let's talk about choke points and pain points for a second. So, for example, you've got a plan to you want to go national. Okay, so you want to hire people all over the country. Now you've got and this is obviously what's going on in all businesses because we just went through COVID. You've got remote work. How are you going to make remote work work? Are you
here's
going to?
one. Here's a big one. I was on most companies.
Yeah, I didn't hear what
Sorry, I
you
got
said on that
disconnected
one.
there for a second.
Oh, okay, good. You're back. Yay! What'd you say?
That was it. Yeah, remote work. Yeah, no, continue with the remote work.
Yeah, so things like remote work. I mean, you are just, if you don't have things set up well for remote work, you're just asking for a choke point, right? If your files are in some place that's not easily accessible for the remote users, that's an obvious choke point. So think if you're thinking like that at this point, you're thinking, oh, okay, great. I want people to be able to work from all over the country because I want to open up those markets but at the same time, I've got to figure out how to make my technology work for them. So great, it's things like moving your files to the cloud, moving your other workloads to the cloud so that they're accessible from everywhere. It's that way of thinking of, okay, I want to do this. What do I need to do as far as technology is concerned? And then
Yeah.
you get to things like security. Okay, so great. I'm going to have people working all over the place. I'm going to upload my files to wherever. That's great. Now suddenly your file is available all over the country. Yay! And oh wait, is that a problem? Right, Jeff?
A big problem.
So I don't want you don't run ahead and be
Not
like,
not
yeah, we can do
necessarily.
all
Not
these things. But
yeah.
security, keep in mind things like security. These are important things to not forget about when you're rushing headlong into some awesome technology thing. When I'm talking about security, I'm talking about security from hackers. I'm talking about your files getting out, even for someone non-maliciously within the company. Things like data loss prevention, where, for example, our phones, I can't copy something from our own files into a text message because we have protections on our data. We don't want our data moving outside of our ecosystem. Something that needed to be done when we essentially opened an office in another location. I don't know if you guys know, but there's an office in New York. There's an office in Atlanta. And so we need security on our stuff and our client stuff.
Right. So I guess it also comes back to getting proper like estimates for initiatives, right? So like we mentioned, remote work, that would be, cloud probably, but cloud with security. So a part of that, budgeting process and roadmap process is getting dollar amounts in each quarter over the next, coming 2, 3 years, however far you want to go out, so that, the executives in the company have a firm understanding of how much budget is needed for the coming year to 3 years, right?
That's right. Get it all down. Get it into a spreadsheet. Get it all down so you know it, you understand it, and you can live it. We live
Yeah,
it.
because
We
technology,
have a business plan spreadsheet. It thing lives on a tab. I'm pointing to my computer. Lives on a tab in my browser so that I can see it whenever. I'm looking at the tab right now. I can always click on that tab, and that plan will come up. It's got all kinds of things we're doing, including our big pushes for this quarter. It's there. I can always take a look at it. We live it.
yeah. So I think we hit most of the angles here, Norman. Did we miss anything?
No, I don't. I mean, see, that's the big question. Uh, you tell me, people out there, what did I miss? I know I missed something. We talked about a whole bunch of things, but everybody does planning differently and everybody looks at technology differently. So come on down and tell me what.
Or you can just drop a
You
comment. Yeah, you could drop a
just drop the
comment. You don't need
comment
to
in the
go in.
chat. What are your questions? What do you do differently? I'm sure you guys have great insights. So let's hear it. And until
Yeah,
that time,
and I think
yeah.
an important takeaway is you have to dedicate resources to be strategic, right? You can't just you know let things happen, right? You want to be proactive, which comes to being strategic, and being strategic requires dedicated resources to doing that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So like that's a role we play for our clients, like Norman, and Chloe. Keep on mentioning her name. We have other people as well, but your whole day is almost helping our clients be strategic, right? You're that resource for them, right? So they would have to, provide their own resources for that if they were doing it on their own, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. All right. How am I feeling? Are we feeling like we've gone over the things we wanted to go over?
I think so, right? Business planning, figure out what your initiatives for the coming year are going to
Oh, you know
be.
what? We
Go
didn't do
ahead.
the one key thing. Say it. Why do we need metrics?
KPIs?
Yeah. Why do you need metrics?
Oh, dashboards. Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So yeah, you can do all of this planning and all of this budgeting and all of this and all of that, but you may not know where you are 6 months down the road if you don't make these things measurable. Right, Jeff? Talk about measurability. Come on. You're all about measurability.
So yeah, what gets measured gets done, right? I think Michael Bloomberg
Mm-hmm.
said that he's one of the like richest people in the world. But yeah, this is another thing that created a lot. When in the business planning process, you have to have KPIs. How do you get the KPIs? That's a whole project in itself. So that may be on the business plan first, but getting KPIs, in as real time as possible, whatever it is, it could be customer service metrics, sales metrics, profit metrics, right? How do you extract all that from your systems? That in itself was on our business plan, several years ago when we started our coach. But how do we find out our time to respond to clients, our net margins, our gross margins, revenue per employee, all that stuff, right? If it's easy to get, you can grow and scale your business a lot faster if you're watching it regularly, right? So is that what you were trying to get at with me, or are
Yeah,
we at?
so yes, you have dashboards that you can easily look at your metrics. The easier you can get we learned this one the hard way. The easier you can get your metrics, the more you will measure and manage based on that metric. I mean, we had years where we kind of didn't know a whole lot of really what was going on in the business. Now we've got all kinds of metrics that I can look at I'm again pointing to a tab because it lives on a tab right there in the browser that I can always look at those metrics. Yeah, it's key. If so, figure out what you want to measure. So for us, things like how many client touches we have in the marketing area. As far as sales, how many, I don't know, what are your sales metrics?
Yeah, it's just number of first-time appointments, number of dials, number of
Right.
COI meetings, all that
So we
stuff, right?
knew, right, we knew we wanted to measure those things because otherwise you're just flying blind. So we figured out how to easily get those metrics easily and quickly and able to look at them whenever. So for us, it was key. The idea of figuring out the metrics, figuring out how to get them easily, and figuring out where to easily view them and be able to manage based on them. Key.
Yeah,
So
another
think of that as
another
part of your technology planning.
yeah, just another idea on the business goals side, right? Business goals side could have so many things. So yeah, I mean, you want to drive your business forward, you know, start with business planning for sure. Be strategic. Take inventory regularly, right? We mentioned the assessment. You got to do that. You don't want things to fall out of alignment or not be optimal or be overspending in places that you shouldn't be. So I think that's kind of like how you get that technology planning going. You got your business planning and you got assessments, assessing your inventory that's in place, and then coming up with great ideas with smart people like Norman or whoever else that's on your leadership team, right? You got to have great people, obviously, but meet regularly, be strategic, be proactive, and get your technology plan in order and space it out, right? Have a roadmap. Not everything can happen at once. One thing can be done per quarter. Sometimes that's even too fast, depending on the project. We've seen ERP projects go out a year or two,
Yeah, depending on the
depending on
project,
the
the
size.
budget.
Yeah, so think about it and put a plan together, and definitely makes your life easier, right? Did we get
Yeah,
any comments or anyone want to say
no,
anything? I think we
I
got
think
these
we're ready.
AirPods.
I'm thinking like we're ready to wrap this one up.
Okay, all
What are
right.
you thinking?
Let's talk about our next event. Do we have? I mean, what do we got going on? We have the In This Together Roundtable. You could Google that. There's a website every Tuesday. We are meeting with business professionals and entrepreneurs who are looking to network. It's virtual. It started in COVID. Please join that.
It
For those,
is inthistogetherroundtable.com.
yep. Esther Deutsch started that, and it's still going. So that's great. A lot of business being passed around. For those of you Jam Band folks, we do have the fish and business themes. That's on our website. Visit rcsprofessional.com. Go
Yep,
to
that
the
one's
events
March
page.
14th.
And of course, these webinars, which I love doing with Norman.
That's right. So yes, our next, I don't know what our next
What was that?
technology one, but the next fish one is on March 14th. Can't wait. Um, yeah, I'm not going to go into that because I'll just wax on and on about fish and jam bands. But yes, it's coming, and yeah, stay tuned for our next technology one because those are always great, of course. And that's it. Oh, so
All right.
I did mention a giveaway at the beginning of this. I think Alex is having some little technical problem over there. So she is going to do this winner in the background and contact you from there. So unfortunately, not going to happen on here, but hopefully it will happen. And that's it. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.